few points, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Joy Wezi Kaira from Sishemo Education Trust, representing the good people of Kawata constituency. Madam Speaker, as I rest my points, I will also be explaining on how we children or children in different societies can prevent abusing drugs or alcohol. My first point, explain the dangers of the drugs. If we explain to others, they'll get a better understanding. If we explain to others, they'll get a better understanding and avoid the risks of taking the drugs or alcohol. 2, avoid temptations. If children in the society avoid temptations such as peer pressure, they can avoid being part of such activities. And lastly, examine the risk factors. If we examine the risk factors added to the substances, we can easily avoid them. With these few points, Madam Speaker, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this kind of opportunity to add my voice to the motion which has been moved by the mover. My name is Nkanduvari, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, my first point is that parents should have a good relationship with the children. Many at times, children face a lot of problems in life, but they are unable to share them with the parents. It's either the parents are too busy or the parents are too strict. If the parent would try and make time to spend with the children, talking to the children, helping the children sort out their problems, it could help us because the children wouldn't feel neglected and they wouldn't turn to drugs. My second point, Madam Speaker, is that the government should try and increase the number of shelter for the street kids and the orphans. Here in Zambia, Madam Speaker, we have a lot of street kids and orphans, and these people are the ones contributing to abusing drugs and alcohol. If the government could try and show them that the country loves them by providing basic needs and also increasing the number of shelter. Talking about basic needs, I'm talking about education. Talking about this education, before I go any further talking about education, allow me to thank the government for introducing free education, but allow me to remind them that free education is not enough. What is free education without books, uniforms, and school shoes? For we all know that children in street do not have people to provide for them books, uniforms, and school shoes. I would request the government to provide these things to the street kids and the orphans. They wouldn't feel abandoned and they would not abuse drugs. My other point, Madam Speaker, I would love to talk about our humble teachers. I would request the teachers to motivate the children when the children are doing good in schools. Many at times children do good in schools, but they get discouraged because the teachers are not motivating them. But if the teachers would motivate the children who get encouraged, they would want to work as hard as possible to impress the teachers. They'll be so busy with studies, they won't have the time to abuse drugs. My other point, Madam Speaker, is that the government and the non-governmental organizations should come together, should try and work together in order to improve the skill centers here in Zambia. We have a lot of children who are skilled, but they are abusing drugs because they think that their skills are not varied. But if the government could show them by improving the skill centers, they'll be so busy practicing their skills, they wouldn't have that time to abuse drugs, Madam Speaker. My last point, Madam Speaker, I request the police to give stiff and harsh punishment to the people who are selling drugs to the young people. With this few point, Madam Speaker, I submit.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Mary Monza, representing Toma Secondary School from Toma constituency. Madam Speaker, much has been said about this problem which has affected my society. So what I feel and believe in how we can eliminate this problem in my constituency is by encouraging children, not to associate with people who are abusing drugs. And also, Madam Speaker, since we're looking about children, I believe and feel if we encourage prep in schools, and not only prep, but increasing the number time of prep so that children should spend more time studying rather than loitering around and engaging themselves into drugs. Parents also should be good role models to their children, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the other thing which I feel how we can eliminate this problem is by educating the community and the school-going children. It's not only about the school-going children, no, but also the community should know the dangers and the effect of drugs. Madam Speaker, if we know the dangers of drug, honestly, People want to tolerate when someone below the age of 18 is abusing drug and tolerating that, Madam Speaker. So I feel if we educate both the children and the community, it'll help the people in my constituency. And also, Madam Speaker, I feel by increasing the CDS funds, it also help the CDF to help the people, those who abuse drugs. Madam Speaker, at this point, which I feel is by establishing books, songs, and drama or poetry on the dangers and the effects of drugs, it will help the people in my constituency. With my first point, I submit.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice on the motion of today. Without wasting my time, I would like to submit my points, which is, my first solution, Madam Speaker, is we have to provide sports field for young girls and boys to keep them busy away from the junkie lifestyle. Madam Speaker, I really believe that in my community, there are a lot of junkies and a lot of young boys and girls abusing drugs. And this is because some of them have nothing to do, some of them have nothing to distract them away from drugs. So, Madam Speaker, I really believe that if the government can provide more sports field and introduce sports activities for young girls and boys, it will keep them busy and they will be entertained, and they will also have that courage to say, no, I won't abuse drugs because what I'm doing will benefit me in the future. Madam Speaker, moving on with the motion of today, my other point is we have to educate young girls and boys on how junkie lifestyle can destroy and damage the community they live in. Madam Speaker, I really believe that drug abuse, especially alcohol abuse, has brought about the increase in milieu. For example, like those who sell what's this? Kachasu. Those who sell kachasu. They use maize to create that same kachasu. Madam Speaker, imagine that is going to bring about...
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order has been raised.
Madam Speaker, contrary to Standing Order 65, which I'm sure we're all accustomed with, the use of unparliamentary language, is the precurrent speaker in order to use terminologies like junkies and kachasu without alleviating to the House what exactly it means? Madam Speaker, I beg your serious scrutiny.
The honorable member is in order. He may continue with his debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, as I was speaking, many parents are complaining to say, no, the price of milieu has increased. Meanwhile, it's the fault of those who produce that same alcohol, which many young children are abusing. So, Madam Speaker, I urge the government to ban those people who produce those same alcohol. Moving on with the motion of today, Madam Speaker, we also have to educate parents and guardians on the importance of loving, caring, and showing support to their children. Madam Speaker, some parents in my constituency, which is Munali constituency, Madam Speaker, they don't even they don't care what type of friends their child is hanging out with. They don't care whether the friend of their child drinks or smokes. But, Madam Speaker, I really believe that if the government can put strict laws which says maybe a child shouldn't come home around 18 or 17, it's going to be, this nation is going to be a better nation because many children won't be involved in drugs. Madam Speaker, I really believe that if we also educate parents to stop neglecting their children, it's going to be helpful because many parents now are going to learn that since I was neglecting my child, this time I shouldn't neglect my child because now I know the importance of showing love and care to my child. Others, they don't even care for their children, Madam Speaker. A child goes to play
Honorable member, your time is up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Blessings Mamba from Munari constituency. Madam Speaker, as we all know that health is wealth, drugs has bring so many problems to children under the age of 18 and below. Madam Speaker, as I know that not every families drink alcohol or abuses drugs. There are some parents who don't do that. So those parents who don't abuse drugs or drinks alcohol, they may be or they should be encouraging their children on the effects of drugs and how drugs will affect their health. Madam Speaker, the government must ensure that police officers and society leaders, they should work hand in hand so that they encourage and educate people who don't know the effects of drugs, and they should be counseling families who do take drugs because they also encourage their children to do the same. And like children who watch those movies and songs whereby people are abusing drugs and alcohol, those people encourage children to do that because they think as if that's where happiness is found. So I think community leaders or society leaders and police officers must also ensure that they look up to those people who sell drugs and alcohol without license. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this great opportunity to add my voice to the motion which has been moved by the mover. My name is Mambo Elvis, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, my first point is closing down bars that don't have licenses. Madam Speaker, in my constituency, Chawama, we have a lot of bars that don't have licenses. Madam Speaker, talking of licenses, Madam Speaker, there is this alcohol which is called ethanol, known as kachasu. Madam Speaker, kachasu is the most toxic and cheapest beer sold in Zambia. Madam Speaker, if the government should introduce a system which would be illegal to sell ethanol. Madam Speaker, if one truly wants to sell ethanol, one should get a license. A license which should be more expensive, Madam Speaker. If the license is expensive, many people will lose interest in the business. And ethanol will be rare. If ethanol is rare, Madam Speaker, ethanol will be more expensive. Madam Speaker, people in my constituency, Chawama, are complaining to say that those same bars are a source of income in their families. Therefore, my second point will be about monitoring and limiting days or hours of selling. Madam Speaker, if we monitor and limit days or hours of selling, we will not just lower the risk of someone being addicted to alcohol, but we will also help those who depend on the same bars as a source of income. Madam Speaker, my third point is the government should introduce an organization which should be made for the parents. The majority of parents in Zambia, they are not aware, or maybe they are not educated of how drugs is harmful in a human's body. Madam Speaker, many parents don't know on how to react when they find out that their beloved child are consuming drugs or alcohol. Madam Speaker, they will end up chasing those children from their houses, Madam Speaker, which will increase the number of street kids in the street, Madam Speaker. So if the government should introduce such organization on how to educate the parents to handle these situations, for parents should know that when a child is consuming alcohol, maybe the child is addicted, and addicted, it is a strong word, Madam Speaker. It needs love and time to heal, Madam Speaker. With these few points, I submit.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this lovely opportunity to add my voice to the motion which has been moved by the mover. My name is Shkondi Banda, representing Chawama constituency from Chawama Day Secondary School. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I will not waste much of the time in terms of explaining the effects and the causes of children abusing drugs and alcohol, but I'll just go direct to the possible solution on how we can eradicate the abuse of alcohol and drugs among children. Firstly, Madam Speaker, is that there should be creation of jobs for the parents, because if parents are not able to provide for their children, children may try to satisfy their needs on their own. They will try to provide the needs on their own, which may lead them to be found with people who are not pleasing, people who may have bad influence on them, Madam Speaker. And my other point is that parents should stop sending their children to buy alcohol for them, because it may have that it may lead them to have that curiosity or desire of wanting to taste it. 2 or 3 more days you send your child to go and buy alcohol. They want to know how it feels when you taste alcohol. They want to know how it feels when you are drunk, Madam Speaker. And this should be taken into consideration. I urge all the parents out there to stop doing that. And my other point, Madam Speaker, is that having more youth-friendly space. Friendly space, they help in terms of children and youth coming together, discussing about the effects and the dangers of children abusing drugs and alcohol, Madam Speaker. Because in my constituency, Chawama, youth-friendly space, Madam Speaker.
You may continue with your debate.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Because in my constitution, Madam Speaker, youth-friendly space, they're not easily accessed. I only know of Chawama Hospital. That is where you can easily access a youth-friendly space. And these ones, we need them because it helps in terms of children coming together and youth discussing about the effects and causes, even the dangers of abusing drugs and alcohol among children, Madam Speaker. And my other point is going to hide it where children who abuse alcohol and drugs, they meet, Madam Speaker. Because this is where the citizens, they come in. As citizens, we have the responsibility and the duty of reporting or making the police aware of what is happening. Because most children who abuse drugs and alcohol, they like doing it in unfinished buildings, Madam Speaker. So this should be taken into consideration, as the citizens should make the police aware of it. And my other point, which is my last point, Mr. Speaker, the media can help also in terms of disseminating information about the effects and the dangers of drugs and alcohol, Madam Speaker. Because why only seeing about adverts about musicians? Why can't we also see about adverts, dramas, even cartoons about which are educating about the effects and dangers of abusing drugs and alcohol, Madam Speaker? With these few points, I submit, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the sun rises from the east to the west, so shall I rise in the House of Debate. My name is Mutale, Natasha Mutale, here representing Munali constituency and Munali Girls Secondary School, where only the best is good enough. To the motion at hand, let us first examine some causes of alcohol and drug abuse. Peer pressure. Being influenced by your fellow peers to do something you're not comfortable with, Madam Speaker, why can't the youth of nowadays just say no and walk away? It has never really killed anybody to just say no. Secondly, experimenting. Deciding to start abusing substances just because they are well publicized and they are in fancy new bottles, they are all over billboards, people want to start abusing them for shame. Parental abuse. You as parents are seen firsthand by your children abusing these substances. And then when there is an increase in criminals and junkies, you want to blame it on the president and his staff for a problem that you are committing. What are the causes of these things that the youth are doing?
Madam Speaker.
The first cause is it leads to an increase in criminal rate of the country, and it reduces the foreign exchange because tourism is reduced. When there is an increase in criminals, no one would like to tour a country that has an increase in criminals, would they? No. Secondly, it increases the deaths in a country because those people who are stealing from people, they are killing the victims so they can silence them forever. Secondly, it increases GBV cases because there is a behavior that is portrayed by most of the people who abuse these substances, and this behavior is violence, and violence is something we do not want to start again. Now, here are the solutions that will end child abusing alcohol and drugs. Educate the people on the effects of drug abuse. Make them aware that they are violating the moral aspect of being recognized as a Zambian citizen, which is taking care of oneself and the family. Make adverts about the causes of the effects of abusing alcohol and drugs. Put them on billboards. Make them aware to every single person. And when you're making these sensitization programs, don't make them just in schools, but also make them in the communities as well. Make them in their local languages, because last time I checked, English does not originate from Zambia. We have languages like Bemba, Nyanja, Tonga, etc. These are the languages that must be used when carrying out sensitization programs. Secondly, make things in Braille and in sign language. Do not just concentrate on the majority of citizens that are able, but also those that are differently abled. They also deserve to know about the effects of drug abuse. When we set out to sensitize the public, we are not segregating on a particular population. When we say we are sensitizing the Zambian citizens, we want to sensitize every Zambian citizen so long as they are Zambian. Everyone deserves to know of the effects of drug abuse. I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on this motion which states ending children abusing drugs and alcohol. My name is Evelyn Mumba, and I'm here to represent Nali constituency coming from Kalingalinga Primary School. My first point is, let us explore some types of programs that offer solutions to drug abuse in schools. My other point is, we honorable members of this house, we need to educate parents and guardians what child abuse is, because there are some children who abuse drugs in the community because they are being beaten by their parents all the time. My other point is, parents need to check themselves whether they drink or not, because there are some parents who drink and smoke in front of us, and they even fight in front of us. And on top of that, they send children to light cigarettes for them and buy beer for them. With my few points, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for assisting me this wonderful opportunity to debate under the motion which has already been moved by the mover. My name is Royce Chiwila, representing the people of Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, I have the effects leading these children to be abusing these drugs, but I will not explain much on them. Madam Speaker, children and teenagers explore. These children, they would want to try out new hobbies, new skills, new friend group, and new experiences. Sometimes these experiences include the abusing of drugs. Madam Speaker, when these children are not educated, they have nothing to do. As a result, they are the ones roaming around with drugs in the streets. Madam Speaker, drugs sold to a person below the age of 18. This goes to the bar owners. They just do it for the sake of making profit, making money, not knowing that they are destroying the future leaders of tomorrow. And this does not affect only my constituency, but also the country at large. Madam Speaker, in how I feel we can tackle this issue or solve this problem, number one is, for we all know that teens are the subject to peer pressure. For as adults who have a strong sense of self should help children to make better decisions that reflect their values. Madam Speaker, building more recreational facilities. What I mean is coming up with activities or coming up with facilities, e.g. football grounds and netball grounds, where these children, they can showcase their talents or show what they can do better, instead of them abusing these drugs, but they'll be busy with these activities. Madam Speaker, and also the police and the Drug Enforcement Commission, which is the DEC, they should work hand in hand in order to arrest and cancel those who abuse drugs in order to reduce the number of children abusing drugs. And in my conclusion, coming up with clubs in schools, e.g. the anti-drug club, where children are supposed to be taught about the dangers of these drugs, the bad part of these drugs, how these drugs affect them in order to end the practice of drug abuse. With these few points of mine, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Honorable Isalim Tolo, representing Nadi constituency. Madam Speaker, I believe as a country, we can eliminate the issue of substance abuse. Here I have some few points on how we can eliminate the issue at hand. Parents should involve their kids in extracurricular activities. Mrs. Speaker, did you know that Iceland currently has the lowest young substance abuse rates in the world? I bet you must be asking yourself how. They attribute this to after-school activities and closely monitoring their teens' time and how they spend it and who they spend it with. And I believe in Zambia we can adopt such techniques. My second point is develop close family ties. Guidance and support provided by their loved ones can make it easier for youth to deal with life pressures and stay away from harmful substances. And my second point is parents should learn to talk to their young teens. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, the SAMHSA, states that when parents do talk to their kids about alcohol or drugs use, while simultaneously educating them with facts about substance abuse, their children are 400% likely to abuse substances later in their lives. With these few points, Madam, I raise my case. Thank you.
Honorable member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for calling me. This is a privilege to share my voice on a motion for today, which is called Ending Children Abusing Drugs and Alcohol. Now, my name is Rafael Chola, here to represent Nali constituency, come from the school Kalingalinga Primary School. Now, my first point is that, Madam Speaker, talk about the consequences, not just the punishment. Because there's some people just talk about punishment of taking drugs and alcohol. No, if you take alcohol and drugs, you get arrested, you get this and that. Tell them about the consequences, what can do to their bodies, because drugs and alcohol can cause an addiction and death and other stuff, Madam Speaker. But if you tell them about the consequences, they might have that conscience in them of, no, it can do this to my body. So if you should just talk about the punishment, talk about the consequences which can help them in their body. And my second point is just, don't just blame the sellers, blame the buyers as well.
Honorable member, kindly speak up.
Don't just blame the sellers, blame the buyers as well, because Madam Speaker, on every bar or shop, it always has a sign which says 18 and the line on the middle. And when that sign doesn't show you should have 18 bottles of alcohol or start drinking alcohol at 18. Start drinking.
Point of order.
It doesn't show that sign show that.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order has been raised.
Madam Speaker, I don't understand by the term that the honorable member on the floor has used to say 18 and the line in the,
The honorable member is in order. May he continue with his debate?
Madam Speaker, that sign means no under 18 child should buy alcohol from that shop, because the then says on the sign of cigarette, it says tobacco is bad for your health. Now, my other point is that, Madam Speaker, we talked to the musician about composing songs which encourage children not to take drugs and alcohol, because the musicians just compose songs this song for Vincenzo and that song for me, because that song encourage young couples just to drink alcohol, because if you're in a heartbreak, drink alcohol, like it says bottle in your soulmate. How can a bottle be a soulmate? There's a bottle talk, Madam Speaker. There's a bottle talk, Madam Speaker.
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Point of order has been raised.
Madam Speaker, contrary to our standing orders, the honorable member has no right to mention a private citizen's name in this chamber if they are not present to defend themselves. Therefore, is he in order to mention renowned artist Vincenzo's name? Could he kindly withdraw the statement? I beg your serious scrutiny, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member will take that into consideration. He may continue with his debate.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. There's also this song, that song which says, no, a bottle is in. How can a bottle be a soulmate, Madam Speaker? It doesn't even talk. It clearly encourages young couple to drink alcohol in heartbreak. Is it what you call a peace nation of encouraging young couples to drink alcohol when they're in a heartbreak? That the heartbreak is the only solution to a heartbreak is it alcohol, Madam Speaker. So we should encourage musicians to sing songs which can encourage children to not take drugs and alcohol. Without you want to have, I raise my case.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this lovely opportunity that you've given to me to add my voice on the motion at hand. My name is Grace Chiwe, representing Chama constituency. Madam Speaker, the issue of alcohol and drug abuse, it is an issue that has shaken the world and has led to many deaths of young people. I won't talk much on the effects nor the causes, but I'll go direct to the possible solutions. And the first one is avoid child neglect. Because of this reason, parents have been avoiding their children, leaving them to wander around, go about. They don't watch their movements, what they do, who they associate with. As a result, these children, they don't know the love of parents. As a result, they tend to find love in alcohol and drugs. So it must be avoided in order to reduce the cases of alcohol and drug abuse, which will take me to the second solution, which is keep children in schools. Each and every parent must keep their children in school. There is no reason whatsoever to leave a child wandering around without going to school, because now our new Dawn government has introduced free education. It is now the responsibility of parents to find uniforms and books, because we cannot be depending on the government on everything. Why did they choose to have those children in the first place? So I urge each and every parent to keep their children in schools. And the third solution that I have is motivation. We need motivational speakers. We have many successful footballers from both women and men. They can become motivationals, motivating young people out there who are not educated. They can do something with their lives apart from abusing drugs and alcohol. So what I'm trying to say is that we need motivational speakers to come out and motivate the young people on how they can do something with their life. With these few points that I have, I raised my case.
Honorable member seated here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice over the motion that has been raised by the mover of the motion. My name, Madam Speaker, is Robert Mbewe from Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, drug abuse has become the most common thing these days, and many youths are destroying their lives. And so it is important for us as youths to sensitize our fellow youths and also be advocates of this issue. Madam Speaker, in our country we have public figures. I know that public figures in this generation of ours that we are in, the generation of technology. I believe that public figures and government, if they were to, for lack of better term, forge an alliance, like working together in advocating to try and solve this issue, it would really be of help, because a public figure is defined or is one who can inspire a young person to achieve goals beyond their immediate I lost my thought there, you excuse me for that. As I was saying, a public figure is a person who can inspire a young person to achieve goals beyond their capabilities. So if government and the so-called public figures, when I say public figures, it can be a footballer as long as that person is famous, because many of us youths look at them as our inspiration because of their stories and how they have reached that level. So if government and the youths work hand in hand, I'm sure that our country would surely have at least a relief in the cases of child abuse as well as junkies. With these few points, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated there.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, for granting me the opportunity to add my voice to the motion presented before the House. My name is Theodore Shimwa, and I'm representing Kanyama constituency, Chinika Secondary School. Madam Speaker, may I bring it before the House that drug abuse takes place nowhere else but in our very own communities. And so if this problem is to be handled, the community itself is actually going to have the biggest role to play. Let the community set up watch groups to make sure that they visualize the children in our communities, that they don't do this practice. The government can actually only come in to sensitize and advise the community on how best to tackle the problem at hand. Let the community provide the funds. Let the government rather provide the funds. Let the government provide the support that the community actually needs to tackle the problem at hand. The discussion being held here most likely will actually end here, which is very unfortunate. Consider this, about 80% of us present here in this August House will actually most likely not have given a thought on the matter at hand, if not for the debate presented before the House today. So may I, on the very point, may I actually outline that very little has been done from the government in terms of tackling this problem. I was discussing with my fellow honorable members from Kanyama constituency, and we actually realized a very big problem. None of us have actually encountered any campaign, any counseling units that actually sensitizes the children on drug abuse. How is the problem going to be handled? May I appeal to the government at this point to hold youth talks, to hold campaigns, to hold rallies that actually promote the knowledge and of the dangers of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. Let the government show that they actually care, because if they do so, this will go a long way into the tackling and handling and eventual stopping of the problem of children abusing drugs. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable member seated over here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. My name is Jen Yambe, representing Chalma Day Secondary School from Chalma constituency. Firstly, Madam Speaker, the solutions to eliminating children abusing drugs and alcohol. My first point, Madam Speaker, is that there has to be a strict enforcement on the abolishment of drugs, Madam Speaker. Because we do hear of abolishing of drugs, but are they abolished yet, Madam Speaker? It is high time that there has to be a strict enforcement on that, Madam Speaker. If the government is hearing me right here, right now, they have to note that down, the abolishment of drugs. My second point, Madam Speaker, is that there has to be a strict enforcement to parents, Madam Speaker. We do have parents in the community who send their children to buy alcohol for them, to light a cigarette for them, Madam Speaker. Is that a good thing to do? Is that being a good person to a child, Madam Speaker? That has to be stopped. And we do have parents who give their children to taste alcohol, Madam Speaker. It is high time that that is stopped. They even give it a local name to say cholamkos, which means break the neck of the bottle of alcohol, Madam Speaker. It is high time that that is stopped, Madam Speaker, in the land of Zambia. And my other point, Madam Speaker, is that if the Ministry of Education is hearing me right here, right now, that there has to be strict guidance teachers in schools who will be able to guide and counsel pupils on the effects, the causes of drugs, Madam Speaker. And the other thing, it is not just about drugs. We do have pupils who are displaced in schools, who are abused. So if they go to school, they don't have guidance. If there can be teachers to guide them, Madam Speaker, the number of children abusing drugs and alcohol will reduce. And my other point, Madam Speaker, is that we need something like the AJC. By that I mean the Anti-Junk Commission, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we still have junks in the community. And our children, the young children of Zambia, think that a junk is a good role model for them, which is not good for that, Madam Speaker. So it is high time that junks are apprehended and taken for reformation. And that reformation must include them being imparted with knowledge of the causes and the effects of drugs and alcohol, Madam Speaker. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I'll recommend that as the government, the community, and each and everyone hearing me there, we must promote love in the land of Zambia, Madam Speaker. We do have the one Zambia, one motto, but what's the use of it if it's not used for love and encouraging one another in the land of Zambia? If that can be implemented, Madam Speaker, we will have a situation where somebody is abusing drugs and another person will tell them to stop. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rest my case.
Honorable member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity. My name is Kafula Letitia, representing Kembe constituency from Chiwombo Boarding Secondary School. Madam Speaker, allow me just to shed more light on the solutions on how we can end substance abuse. And before I go any further, substance abuse, this is the excessive use of drugs for wrong purposes. Madam Speaker, a drug is a chemistry that changes the chemistry of the body and also the natural balance of the mind. Madam Speaker, just to shed more light on the solutions that have already been alluded by the other speakers, there's also abolition of cultivation of drugs that affect people. Madam Speaker, we can all see that people are selling tobacco and the government allows it. What is the government doing to combat substance abuse? Madam Speaker, looking at the Ministry of Education, they've introduced free education, but they're not taking into consideration those children who are stressed, those children who lack basic needs. They are not taken into consideration. Madam Speaker, I feel the government should also take into consideration that they should be able to support counseling institutions where they should counsel those children. Madam Speaker, furthermore, is that the government should also look at the street kids. Madam Speaker, we all know that the street kids have been contributing to the abusing of drugs. Because those ones, if right now you can go to Kamwala, you'll find that street kids are abusing substances, and there's nothing that the government is doing. What is the government of Zambia doing? Madam Speaker, I feel they should create orphanages for those children so that they can be reformed. And to add on, there's also the change of mindset. Change begins with the mind. So Zambians, it's high time they change their minds. Because this will all change and the country will develop. Because if we change our minds, the country will have a good reputation, Madam Speaker. With these few points, I rest my case.
Honorable members seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity that you have given to me to contribute about the discussion for today. My name is Nelson Sondakapala. I'm coming from Uside Primary School. I'm an honorable for Matero constituency. Madam Speaker, I think these are some of the ideas that we can use to reduce this case of children abusing alcohol and drugs. Madam Speaker, prevention should start from their home. Parents must be able to visualize the type of community which they are living in. Because most of the times in their own communities, there is the communities, in the same communities, this is the place where people selling drugs and alcohol. Because as a parent, if you have seen there is a high percentage of people selling illegal drugs in your country, you must be able to report to the nearest police station. The police and the government will find the solution to catch this and put them in the handbag. And the step four, they will know that the government has taken some step to catch those people who have been selling illegal drugs. But we hope that you end illegal drugs in our country. Because many people have been hurt and it has affected our country because drug has been common in our countries. Because most of the people have been taking like this is for a living. We must be able to reduce this kind of thing. We must be able to contribute to this issue. We must not be able to listen to the people what they are saying. We must take a step. Please, people must be in our communities, must be able to memorize that what they are doing to men, they are destroying the young people. We must be able to contribute to the society that we have in our communities. Many people in our communities have been affected by this drug. Most of the time.
Honorable member on the floor, he's too close to the mic. I rest my case.
The honorable member will take that into consideration. May he continue with his debate?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I continue, we know that the government has taken some steps. But I hope we will continue. We know that we will be appreciated as a material constituency when the government will provide total security in our material constituency. Although we will provide and enforce the councillors to be patrolling the part of the Material constituency. We have seen that Material constituency has been a center of criminals and illegal drug selling in a high percentage because Material constituency has a high percentage of number.
May the Honorable move away from the mic. Stand up straight. You may continue the debate. You may speak. Continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Material has been seen as the high constitution with the high percentage of people selling illegal drugs. But I hope the government will face some challenges and take control. I hope people will be reporting the people so that they can be enjoyed, those people who are selling illegal drugs in our community. I rest my case. Thank you, Mr.
Honorable member there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Emma Luvinga. I'm from Sishema Education Trust from Kawata constituency. I'm going to say the motion that states stop children abusing drugs and alcohol. We mostly see children...
Speak up. Voice projection.
We mostly see children moving aimlessly, looking for what to do. Mostly street kids are drinking alcohol and drugs. I think the government should be able to take care of this and make them live in an orphanage so that they can be stable and stop them from drinking drugs and alcohol. With these few points, I rest my case.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me the opportunity to add my voice to today's topic of discussion. Madam Speaker, my name is Elizabeth Soko. I'm coming from Highland Secondary School. I'm representing Mandef constituency. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank the President, Mr. Hakainde Chilema, for the introduction of free education. Madam Speaker, I suggest that I'll talk about alcohol and drugs in particular. Madam Speaker, I suggest that alcohol to be stopped in this country. Why do I say so? Alcohol and drugs to be stopped in this country by importing drug and alcohol. Madam Speaker, why do I say so? It's not a nutritious food to start with, but some children are abusing alcohol and drugs. It's not a nutritious food to start with. I have never heard of anyone dying due to non-partaking of alcohol and drugs, but the opposite happens. Then there will be no future for me in the government to look up to. I raise my case and thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated over there.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this lovely opportunity to air my voice on this motion. My name is Besika Koma from Munali constituency. Madam Speaker, a lot of children are abusing drugs and alcohol. As a result, these children that are abusing drugs and alcohol, they have upgraded from being addicts. Now they are forming small groups in my constituency, which are called junkies. And to your awareness, members of this parliament, we don't have such in the courts of Zambia. We don't have such offense called junkies. So these are small youngsters that attack and beat up people. Madam Speaker, not very long ago we had commercial agriculture show where I witnessed, I myself, a lot of youngsters beating up people and stealing goods for people. Why do they do that? In order to find money for them to buy alcohol and drugs. Madam Speaker, I've been sent by my lovely people from my constituency because they need a policy which is going to deal with these people called junkies. Madam Speaker, apart from that, we see lack of professionalism. If you see these people, we had a lot of policemen and a lot of soldiers around this place outside near the parliament where the commercial show was being held. Another point of lack of professionalism, we find that a lot of policemen and policewomen are scared of these people because my fellow children, after abusing the same drugs and alcohol, we find them doing things that are so heartless. They beat up people to the extent where they carry sharp tools. They even kill people. In Mandevu constituency near Olympia, we found 9 babies in the suitcase, which were aborted by these youth and street kids and kids after abusing alcohol and abusing drugs. Madam Speaker, my people from the constituency have sent me with a voice that we want a policy to be opened for the junkies. I rest my case.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this wonderful opportunity that has been rendered to me. My name is Blessings Mnyanyembe, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, we all know that changing people's mind is not an easy task at all. But first, Madam Speaker, we can at least end the abusing of drugs amongst children by taking action, like my fellow honorable member just said, to say the community should address the uptake of drugs and alcohol among children as an healthy problem that they need to sort out seriously. Secondly, Madam Speaker, sharing of our knowledge. For we know that others are educated, but there are others who are not educated. Some, they know the badness of taking alcohol and drugs, but some they don't know. So if people should share the knowledge that they have about the badness of the taking of drugs and alcohol, I feel there'll be a reduction of children abusing drugs. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, the change of our teen scheme. Let children who are abusing drugs know that it is drastically impacting their lives and the lives of the other people. For we know that the uptake of drugs and alcohol does not just affect those who are taking them, but also those who are not taking them. Madam Speaker, parents to spend more time with their children. Other children, they engage themselves in the taking of drugs because they feel neglected, because their parents, maybe they don't spend most of the time with them. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I feel those notice boards that are in the bars there where they state 18 years and above, like my fellow honorable member just said, they are there, but they are not being followed as they are supposed to be followed. So I feel if the government should take up seriously, like the council police, to be going in bars and investigate on how those children, they enter in the bars to buy those alcohol, even though they are below the age of 18. So if that policy of 18 years and above is taken seriously in bars, I feel there can be a reduction over the abusing of drugs and alcohol among children. With these points that I've raised, Madam Speaker, I submit and I thank you.
Any honorable member from Kembe? Honorable member from over there?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Charlotte Ndumba, representing Munali constituency. Going back to the motion at hand, which states end substance abuse in children, we have noticed that substance abuse does not only affect the children mentally, but also socially. If we go into our several compounds, we know that the children who are taking these common drugs are actually abusing their fellow friends, maybe by harmful ways like beating them or hitting them with something. Madam Speaker, children are still growing and they have very delicate minds. So if they keep on applying and inserting these harmful substances into their bodies, this is going to affect them and they're going to start having hallucinations. And these hallucinations are very bad for the mental state. Madam Speaker, and they're also harmful for the intestines and the liver, Madam Speaker. Not to waste the chair's time, let me go directly to the potential solutions that can help to eradicate this problem of substance abuse in children. Madam Speaker, rehabilitation centers. If we inhibit rehabilitation centers in our several communities, we'll actually notice that we'll have
reduced amount of children who are doing drugs, Madam Speaker. Because we have noticed that children who are doing drugs are actually our several children who are actually street kids. So we should make sure that in those rehabilitation centers, they put strict measures to guard the rehabilitation center so that they shouldn't run away. And in that way, if they create rehabilitation centers, will actually create jobs, Madam Speaker. The second one is to ban people who sell alcohol in our neighboring neighborhoods, Madam Speaker. We have noticed that we have people who usually sell alcohol, are in our several neighborhoods, Madam Speaker, and those alcohols are really harmful to our bodies. That alcohol methane that they brew is really harmful to the human body, Madam Speaker. So if we ban those people, if they sell those substances without a license, they should ban them, and they should go take some surveys in our various communities where they will see that there are some homes where they brew this beer, which is very harmful to the body. Madam Speaker, if we go to the other point, which is recreation centers, if we actually create some government gyms where people can go there to actually get their mind off the objective of taking drugs, we'll actually notice that we'll have a reduction in the taking of drugs of youths, Madam Speaker. If we create some recreational facilities where people will actually rear chickens and actually maybe they'll have some sports or even fish farming, we'll actually realize that they will see that it is
Your
actually...
time is up. Honorable member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Chawama constituency to add their voice to the motion. My name is Musaka Sydney, representing Chawama constituency. Madam Speaker, the motion in hand is to eliminate children from abusing drugs and alcohol. And this is what the people of Chawama are saying about the motion. Promoting sports activities in the country, Madam Speaker, this can help to reduce drugs and alcohol among children. If we, as the government, we can promote sports activities in the country, it can contribute to eliminate drugs and substance among children. When I talk about sports, it's not only football, but there are a lot of sports such as cricket, basketball, and rugby in the country. My second point, Madam Speaker, is education on dangers of drugs. Mostly of the people in rural areas or here in urban areas, they don't know the effect of drugs. So if we as the government, we can educate the people on dangers of drugs, it can contribute to the elimination of children from abusing drugs and alcohol, Madam Speaker. To forge ahead, avoiding early marriages, Madam Speaker. In Zambia, a lot of people in Zambia are getting married at a tender age. So this is also the effect which lead to substance abuse, Madam Speaker. So if we as the government and the people at large, they can avoid early marriages. If we avoid early marriages, it can contribute to the elimination of substance abuse among children. My fourth point is promoting entertainment industries such as movies, music, and other many institutions in the country. My fifth point is working together as one. In Tonga, we say one finger cannot kill a lice, which means umunomwe taupainjina, Madam Speaker. So if we as the government, we can work with the people out there. People are complaining that they don't have minimum in order for them to sustain their human needs and wants. So if we as the government, we can reduce the price of minimum in order to feed their children at their home, it can contribute to the elimination of drugs and substances among children. My sixth point is restriction of bars and nightclubs and casinos and many other institutions that children should not visit, such as betting. Madam Speaker, if these points were to be put into consideration, they can help in elimination of drugs and substances among children. With these few points, I submit. Thanks.
Any honorable to represent Kembe constituency? Any further debate? Honorable member at the back.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I feel the government is ignorant, together with the parents, concerning child and alcohol abuse. Why do I say so? The government has knowledge from which community drug illegal businesses are conducted, but yet they have done nothing. From my constituency, Kanyama constituency, everybody in here knows that Chibodia and Kanyama...
Point of order.
A point of order has been raised.
I think the honorable member holding the floor did not introduce himself.
Thank you for that wise decision you have made. My name is Emmanuel Ngandwe. Okay. As I'm continuing.
From which constituency?
Kanyama constituency. As I'm from saying, Kanyama constituency and Chibodia community in specific consumes drugs at high rate. Everybody in here knows that, but what have you heard the government doing about it? Nothing. What has the government done? What has the government done to try to alleviate the act? Nothing. I urge the government to enforce laws and to put measures to stop the illegal businesses. How? The council should be passing through into these business centers to stop this act. I also urge the government to put in a law which will enforce and will promote the location of schools. These children who abuse drugs, they come from different homes, and they come to find this act at schools by their friends. Why? Because we are living in a community where there is a school here, next to it there is a bar. So let there be laws which will be put in place to alleviate bars across schools so that pupils can have a peaceful and great atmosphere when they are at school. Thank you. With the few points I've raised, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member seated here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to add my voice to the motion which has been moved by the mover. My name is Manza Henry, representing Chama constituency. Madam Speaker, I would urge the Ministry of Health to restrict bars and drugstores because some of the abusive drugs are being sold in drugstores. I simply mean that there are people who abuse over-the-counter drugs. So if the Ministry of Health could at least urge the drugstores to at least ask for a prescription before selling any drug to an individual. And my second point is that the youths who are commonly known as junkies are being sponsored with drugs. It's so hard to stop them if you don't know who and how they're being sponsored with drugs. So I would urge the police in hand with the Drug Enforcement Commission to at least try to investigate whenever they have a culprit in custody or to try to work undercover. By doing this, we can at least decrease the number of drugs in the street. With my few points, I submit. Thank you.
Honorable member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to state out my points. So before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ruth Tukali, coming from Shishemo Education Trust, Kawata constituency. It's better to talk before children are exposed to alcohol and drugs. If you talk to your kids early and directly and honestly about alcohol and drugs, they are more likely to respect your rules and advice about alcohol and drugs. When parents talk early and often about alcohol and drugs, they can protect them from the high-risk behaviors association with alcohol and drugs. When parents have a significant influence on their children's decision to experiment with alcohol and drugs. One of the most influential factors during a child's adolescence in maintaining strong open relationship with a parent. When parents create support, children make better decisions. Though it may not always seem like it, children really hear their parents' concerns, which is why it is important that parents discuss the risks of using alcohol and drugs. With these few points, I rest my case.
Any honorable to represent Lusaka Central constituency? Let me have the honorable member seated at the back there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Karen Shimumbi, representing Kanyama constituency. Madam Speaker, a lot has already been said by my fellow honorables, so I do not intend to waste much of your time. Madam Speaker, allow me to say that yes, the government is sensitizing on drug abuse, but is their method effective? No. Madam Speaker, I do not mean to sound political, and yet I intend to give an example of what effective sensitization looks like. Effective sensitization looks like what we see when we're having campaigns during our general elections, where people receive t-shirts, people receive flyers, posters, people receive chitenges, musicians produce songs. That is effective sensitization. And yet, coming from a constitution as my own, Kanyama constituency, that has a hub for drug abuse such as Tivolia, I have not seen such. Now, if the government claims that they are sensitizing, to whom are they sensitizing? Madam Speaker, I feel that the government should not only be ready to say that they are sensitizing, but they should also be ready to invest resources in their methods of sensitization for effective measures. And again, I say, if we do this, we will not have to gather here to talk about drug abuse. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, sit there.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, thank you for recognizing me. My name is Chumpwembeka Chemba, representing Osaka Central constituency. To the chairperson, I salute. To the judges, about the timekeeper, I say, don't be stingy, because out of all 24 hours in a day, you've only given me 3 minutes to speak. Bouncing back the motion, we state to end children abusing alcohol and drugs. Child substance abuse refers to a mental health condition where kids or teenagers use alcohol and drugs in an unhealthy way. Some of the root causes of child substance abuse include peer pressure. The influence from friends or peers can lead children to experiment with alcohol and drugs in order to fit in or gain acceptance. Family environment. Dysfunction of families, lack of parental guidance, parental substance abuse can increase a child's susceptibility to substance use, Madam Speaker. Some of the solutions include environmental approach. This will help set up or change community standard codes and attitudes that influence alcohol and drug use in the community. It also includes restrictive measures which reduce the availability of alcohol and drugs in our societies. Not giving to peer pressure can be one of the solutions as well, Madam Speaker. Information dissemination. This provides knowledge of awareness programs and knowledge and nature of extent of alcohol and other drugs. It also helps to enforce norms such as underage drinking shall not be tolerated in specific societies. Madam Speaker, community-based process. This will help enhance the prevention and treatment of alcohol and drug disorders in the society, because building a healthy community builds a healthy lifestyle. Supporting and counseling. Offering health centers in schools and the community that address psychological and emotional issues help reduce child substance abuse. Also offering rehabilitation programs for the children facing addiction. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, child substance abuse is a pressing issue which needs to be eradicated as soon as possible, and it is the obligation of parents, educators, and policymakers to work together as a whole to create a safe and sound environment where children can grow and thrive away from alcohol and drugs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak on the motion that states to end children abusing alcohol and drugs. And before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Amaide Ganya. I'm coming from Sishemo Education Trust, Kawata constituency. Help protect kids against drug abuse by giving them the facts before they are in a risky situation. If parents don't talk about the risks of drug abuse, their kids might not see any harm in trying that. Some kids may try drugs at a very young age, and it is never too early to talk to your children about drug abuse. With these few points, I rest my case.
Honorable member, sit there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Katongo Miniva from Nari Girls Secondary School, representing Nari constituency. Madam Speaker, allow me to talk about the role of the community in combating substance abuse. My first point is abolishing the cultivation of drugs by also educating people about the effects of drug, by also educating the people on the effects of substance abuse, taking people attitudes towards substance abuse, and by also changing key interests in what is going on in the community, establishing groups and clubs, and also by coming up with primary presentation programs. For these few words, Madam Speaker, I raise my hands.
Honorable Member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Kawata constituency a chance to contribute to this debate. My name is Stefana Angel Bodell from Challenge South Secondary School, representing Kawata constituency. May I take this opportunity to notify the House through you, Madam Speaker, that Kawata constituency is the Hollywood of Zambia. Most celebrities emerge from this constituency, Madam Speaker. This constituency is a hub not only to musicians but other sectors of entertainment, Madam Speaker. Children of my constituency, Madam Speaker, convert to be like these celebrities, but lack self-confidence, which leads them into taking these drugs, Madam Speaker, with the thought of boosting their self-confidence in public entertainment and perpetually get addicted to these drugs, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the traditional saying of the Chiwa people which states, Kalimba kovilikila skadizoboka. Translation, the loudest drum doesn't take long to it burst, meaning a child who is aware of his or her wrongdoings doesn't take long to he or she faces the consequences, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as a member of Kawata constituency, I have come up with possible solutions that will help put an end to this child substance abuse, Madam Speaker. And in off-site, we have educating and making up an organization that will help put an end and demolish this child substance abuse, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I believe if we can teach our children of this generation how to prevent themselves in addiction of the drugs, I feel our next future leaders will be, of course, in a duration, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we also have counseling, citing to children, Madam Speaker. I feel if we can be counseling our children, or if elders can counsel the children before living in different activities, Madam Speaker, children will be aware of the consequences that these drugs bring, of course. Madam Speaker, we also have prevention, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if members of different constituencies, Madam Speaker, can demolish the facilities, and of course, as of site, Madam Speaker, I hope that this prevention can be, of course, and the children out there are hearing my voice today, Madam Speaker. Demolishing the facilities, I think we all know that there cannot be drugs unless facilities are in off-site, Madam Speaker. So I feel if we can demolish these facilities and put an age standard, Madam Speaker, our generation will be as beautiful. And of course, Madam Speaker, in a quotation, I raise my case.
Honorable Member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Madam Speaker, my name's Pauline Kaposa from Sishemo Education Trust, Kawata constituency. I have come here to take part in the debate on how, with a motion that states end children abusing alcohol and drugs. Children abusing alcohol and drugs can lead to bad health and low in academic, if possible, drop out of school. So these are some ways on how we can end children from abusing drugs. We can establish rules and consequences, because if we establish rules and consequences, it will help them know the root cause and the effects of abusing drugs and alcohol. Madam Speaker, we can also provide love and support. If we provide love and support, it will help them and create a good, positive way of seeking professional help. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I would love to conclude that all parents and the government can take part in supporting the children abusing alcohol and drugs. With these few points, I submit.
Honorable Member seated there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Faith Hausua, and I am representing Chama constituency from Chama Day Secondary School. Madam Speaker, with the motion that is at hand, which says how can we prevent children from abusing drugs and alcohol, is by simply holding debate in schools in order to gain
May the
greater...
Honorable speak up? Speak up.
Okay, we can simply end
children from abusing drugs by holding debates in schools, which can help learners gain greater knowledge by discussing and knowing what the effects and the dangers of drinking alcohol. And also the family must do its part in terms of parenting their children, knowing their activities, their teens' activities, whereabouts, and installing values that will help them be responsible citizens of Zambia. And also the police officers and the soldiers should also patrol in streets, making sure that no kid is found there, and also arresting the drug traffickers. With these few points, I raise my case.
Honorable member there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak. First, I would love to introduce myself. My names are Wendy Wale, coming from Sishemo Education Trust, Kawata constituency. Many children have been smoking. Children in streets smoke. So, parents need to talk to their children about drugs and alcohol regularly before it gets worse. Here is my case.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development respond on the behalf of the government.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Honorable Seth Landu, and I stand in my capacity as the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development to speak on some of the matters highlighted by my fellow honorable members in this House today. Madam Speaker, taking note of a few, to begin with the Honorable Member for Chawama's suggestion to abolish drugs and introduce the Anti-Drug Commission, I will immediately state is unrealistic and impossible, in the sense that we must understand, and I reiterate to this House, that as government, we believe that we are not fighting drugs, but instead we are fighting drug abuse. And I want every member in this House to take that into consideration. Proceeding, the member of Kanyama, who this government response will be based on, suggested that the government is not doing anything. Allow me to reassure you immediately that we are doing something. And in stating that, I will firstly state that as of 2016, the Ministry of General Education, Ministry of Health, as well as the Drug Enforcement Commission have worked tirelessly and alongside each other to institute and provide substance use prevention and education in schools. We must also mention that drop-in centers are also in place, as the majority of the people abusing substances and alcohol amongst the youth demographic in our country are not in school. Therefore, the drop-in centers have been an effective method that we have used as government. Madam Speaker, additionally...
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, additionally, allow me to give an example of a report. The Honourable Member for Etesteji on the 31st of March in this House...
Order? There is no point of order on the Minister. He may continue with his debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member for Etesteji said and posed the question to the government in this House on 31st March on whether the government is aware that there are people selling alcohol to students and young people at the entrance of Evelyn Home College, and if so, what urgent measures are being taken. End of articulation and quotation. Madam Speaker, allow me to respond on behalf of the government in stating that to curb this specific issue, we, through the City Council, have been patrolling and arresting perpetrators. Proceeding, Madam Speaker, allow me to state that additionally, with me today is a compiled report from my department personally on the juvenile delinquency levels in our country, with reports from Professor Chimbano Banda, Dr. Lwando Kunda, and renowned behavioralist Chancellor Kawuswe. This report compiles and gives us the best methods that we as government are using to curb drug abuse amongst the youths. Madam Speaker, as an administration, we are working with the church, community leaders, and we are also working with various stakeholders to win this war on drug abuse. Firstly, with the church, we have moved, Madam Speaker, and indeed, honorable members, on the community approach to sensitize the youths. And with community leaders, we are getting even a further cemented basis to find out how and where exactly the youths are accessing these substances. With schools, we have linked ourselves directly to the youth, and this is our most effective platform for sensitization and peer-based education, Madam Speaker, I must mention. With the youth in their comfort zone at schools and with the aid of guidance counselors, they are ready and able to seek counsel and help with addiction. With law enforcement and legislative bodies, Madam Speaker, we are working to tighten restrictions and policy on who exactly is eligible to distribute and sell these substances. Madam Speaker, with this study's 4-point framework, I do strongly believe that as a government and with the resilient determination of our fellow countrymen and women, we will have a fighting chance of effectively curbing drug abuse in Zambia, to provide a drug abuse-free Zambia, not only in this generation, but in the next. Through community outreach, the already input government mechanisms and framework. And again, I reiterate to the Honorable Member for Kanyama, the government is doing plenty to stop drug abuse. And we must work together to capture this demon of drug abuse amongst the youth, particularly. As the previous member stated, the junkie faction, they are not in school, therefore we must work with policymakers to institute a basis of how to reach them particularly. We will also take into consideration points brought up by the member for Kanyama, that we must put in place shelter for street kids, and the member for Mundi on sensitization in local language. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The chairperson of the Committee on Local Governance, Housing and Chiefs Affairs wind-up debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to take this opportunity to thank all honorable members of this, I wish to take these opportunities to thank all honorable members for this prodigious debate. I am confident that our voices have been heard by the government, and I hope that the government will take our propositions into consideration. Madam Speaker, without further ado, allow me to say thank you.
I put the question. The question is that this House urges the government to eliminate alcohol and drug abuse among children. As many of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Honorable Chitumbura Baker from Machageo Secondary School, representing the respective members of Mbabala constituency. As the Vice President, I beg to move the House do now adjourned.
The question that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.